into the night, wanting a place to hide this weary soul, this bag of bones. And I try with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, a vagabond. Just when I ran out of road, I met a man I didn't know, and he told me that I was not alone. He picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, he changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. I cannot deny what I've seen. There's no choice but to believe. My doubts are burning like ashes in the wind. All right, y'all gotta clap, come on. So long to my old friends, burden and bitterness, just keep it moving. You ain't welcome here. Now until I walk the streets of gold, I'll sing about you, save my soul. This wayward son has found his way back. He picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, he changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. All right, come on, y'all gotta sing this one. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. You lost another one. I am free. I am free. Oh, I am free. He picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, he changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. All right, let's sing it out. I count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God never late. He's working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God is never late. He's working all things out. Working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will not choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. That nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. That nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. That nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. That nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will.
Y'all pray with me. Dear God, I just want to thank you for bringing all of us here together tonight to be able to worship you and learn more about you, God, and be able to grow friendships and a godly relationship with you. I just pray you can just help bless everyone's week here, that they have a good weekend coming up, and that the rest of their nights are good. Let everyone else have a good rest of their time while they're here. Amen.
All right, y'all can go ahead and spread it into, or get into groups of 3, and there will be questions on screen. How are we doing tonight? We can go ahead and turn around and face forward and whatnot. Glad to have everybody back for the... That's impressive. I can't do that. Hi, Tim. How you doing? Waving like a champ. Glad to have everybody back for the first Wednesday of the new calendar year. Anybody have a life-changing experience in the first 5 days of 2022? It was. She was literally older than sliced bread. Like, she has so many accomplishments. No, seriously, she was. So technically that makes sliced bread the best thing since Betty White. Mind blown. All right. So most people think of her from like the Golden Girls or something like that. I liked her as the eccentric teacher in Community. But also the Snickers commercials, but you know, what are you going to do? So, it's true, Betty White died, so thanks for bringing that up. What a downer. Anybody else have a life-changing experience in the first 5 days of 2022? Hinkle? There's one less impractical joker. Well, there you go. So some of us have already figured out that like January 5th is not wildly different than December 5th. There's just a different month. And we have to write a different number at the end of the year. So as we get going for our new year, we do have a really great thing coming up this week. Anybody know what's happening this weekend? The missions conference, right? So some of you are like, all of those words sound awful to me. Well, that would be wrong, partly because there's lots of yummy food, and we're Baptists. Food is the first F. Food, fun, and fellowship, or something about food. Like we're Baptists, we meet, we eat. So there's a lot of good food. There's like real life missionaries. There's all sorts of fun stuff. On the Saturday at 3, we have a student block that's got some really great hands-on missions experience. And if you're part of that, which by the way is free, if you're under 18. Not only do you get the cool 2 hours of awesome hands-on missions fun, but you also get $50 off your next mission trip with us. So whether you go to Palatka or Portland or whatever, some of you are like, that's not a lot of money. Tell your mom and I'll see you there. But as a way to kind of get us ready and kick us off as we start a new year and head into a missions conference, we do have a homegrown Plant City real-life missionary who's going to come and share some stuff with us tonight. Some of you know her, some of you don't, and you're both going to have a great time tonight. And her name is Lauren Morris. She's one of many Morrises that inhabit the world of First Baptist Plant City, and we're glad that she's the Morris with us tonight. Lauren.
That's right, I am the best. Okay, yeah, so part of what I'm doing tonight is totally going to convince you that those words missions conference will not be boring, and you should be there. But first, I do have to say that I just had a life-changing thing in the first 5 days, because I did not know that Joe had left Impractical Jokers, and you have crushed my heart. That is a very, very sad revelation for me. And someone's giving me a key, so that's super cool. It says forever, so if anyone's missing a little keychain that says forever with a heart on it, it's up here. Okay, let me see if I can get my computer back on. Wake up. Is it up there? Is my computer connecting to something? Da, da, da. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, it's up. Behind me at least. Not in front of me, but behind me is good enough. Hey, now it's in front of me too. Okay, so like Greg said, my name is Lauren, and I am from Plant City, and I haven't been around much in the last couple of years because I have been overseas in Russia for the last 2 years. So before we get started, excluding me, since he just told you that I've been a missionary for the last 2 years, before me, have any of y'all ever met a real-life missionary? Okay. Got a few people around the room. Okay, so when you think of the word missionary, what comes to mind? Like, what's the picture you have in your head of what a missionary is? If your answer sounds awful, that's fine, because, yes. Yeah, absolutely. That was a good spiritual answer. Anyone have a non-spiritual answer? So, like, for example, when I was younger, I thought that all missionary women wore, like, African clothes and lived in huts, right? Anyone else ever? Because I think it's probably like when I was 10, there was a missionary who came to church who was probably dressed like that. So I just kind of assumed that's what missionaries looked like. And so I also sometimes, I don't know about y'all, I'm sure some of you have this thought, kind of think they are the most spiritual people. Like, you've got, like, the average church people, then you got the pastors, and then you got the missionaries. Like, they're like the super spiritual people. I assure you that's not true. But yeah, so I just had a lot of those, like, wrong conceptions of what it was like to be a missionary. And I guess I also thought that, like, missionaries, all they did was spend their free time. Like, they had no hobbies. They just kind of walked around and be like, do you know Jesus? Do you know Jesus? Okay. So that's also not what I've done for the last 2 years. I did have hobbies. The most of my missions work consisted of going to my board game club and speaking English with people, going ice skating with my friends, going on vacations to random parts of Russia. So there's a lot of normal life mixed in with that. And I think that's something that we can all kind of see. I'm sure you've heard the idea that, like, we're all missionaries, and, like, going through Plant City, that, I mean, my life in Russia was very similar to my life here in Plant City, just doing the same thing. So I want to tell you all a little bit about my story before I get to anything else. So my dad is one of the pastors at our church, which is why Greg alluded to there being 10,000 Morrises. There's actually only 6 of us, but it feels like a lot. And so, of course, growing up as a pastor's kid, I was super involved in church. I went to all the kids' camps growing up, and when I hit youth ministry, I was really excited to finally get to go on those summer mission trips that my brothers had gone on. So can anyone guess where the first mission trip I went on was a super cool one to a really cool place. Can anyone guess what that place was? Guatemala. Nope, not Guatemala. No. Miami's closer. Orlando. Okay? Yeah, so super exciting trip to Orlando, but it actually was really cool. My second trip was even cooler. Can anyone guess where that one was to? Plant City, right? Okay, so yeah, I had one of those years where the pastor's like, hey, we're not going on a mission trip this year, but we are. We're going to be on mission right here in Plant City, and, like, made us all think, this is going to be the coolest trip ever. Like, going and staying in our Sunday school teacher's house for a week and pretending it was the coolest mission trip ever. It was cool, though. But so I started out just going on those little trips, and then eventually we did go some cool places, still mostly in America. Went up to North Carolina and did some, to New Orleans, definitely a bunch of trips in Miami, and Virgin Islands, we did a couple trips there. And through all of those, I loved going on those short-term trips. I loved being able to see new places, meet new people, kind of learn what ministry looked like in different places other than just my context here at First Baptist, where I grew up with my dad's pastor. And so as I was doing all of that, I had the plan, like, I'm going to keep doing these short-term trips forever. Like, I just loved them, right? It's easy for us to go take a week and go somewhere cool, meet new people. And so when I was in 10th grade, I actually went on my first trip that was international. This one actually was to a super cool place. I went to Italy. And, it's not really hard to convince someone that you should go on a mission trip to Italy, right? I mean, pizza, pasta, cool beaches, cool language. So there were a lot of draws to that trip. But once I got to Italy, I was really surprised to see how lost people were there. I guess I usually thought of Italy as a super Christian country, right? It's the seat of the Catholic Church. Everyone there's got to know about God. They're all Christians. But when I got there, I realized that the people there, even if they went to church, which very few of them do, even if they went to church, their churches weren't teaching the gospel. Their churches weren't teaching about Jesus. And so even people who thought they were Christians just didn't know the life-saving power of a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so I came home. It was really cool. I learned what real pizza tastes like. It's not, what y'all have tonight, Pizza Hut? Sorry, guys. That's not real pizza. It tastes good, though. Wait, what was that? Nah. See, I love Hungry Howie's, but it's still not real. Esposito's gets kind of close. Y'all been to Esposito's? So I went on that trip to Italy and then went on to college and still had that plan. I'm going to keep going on these short-term trips. Went on a couple more trips to Italy. But the senior year of college, my university had a global missions week. I went to a Christian college. Spoiler alert. Most colleges don't have a missions week. But during that week, I felt really convinced that I was supposed to go do something for a little bit more than a week. And so I ended up going and doing a semester in the Czech Republic just before I started grad school. And through that, I realized, maybe this could be a little longer thing for me. Maybe I could do this for more than just a week here and there. Still had no plan of it, though, because you see, in college, I vividly remember freshman year, sitting in my dorm room, crying, saying, God, please don't make me be a missionary. I'll do anything for you. Please don't make me be a missionary. Okay, I did not want that. I wanted to live in America, work in a church, maybe teach in a school part-time, something like that. God clearly had different plans, though, and so none of what I've been doing for the last 2 years was ever on my radar of something I would do. So I want to show you all a little bit of what I actually did for the last 2 years. So I have some cool pictures of Russia. Do any of y'all know anything about Russia? Right? Okay. We laugh. Vodka. That's one of the main things I knew before I went. What'd you say? They don't speak English. Oh my goodness. Yes. That was a struggle. Okay, so I knew oh, yeah, something else? Yes, backwards R's. I should have put some of the language on here. The thing that looks like an R is backwards, and it's pronounced ya. And the H is an N. And in cursive, the lowercase m is actually a T. It's awful. Yeah, all the letters are backwards. It's hard. But, so I didn't know anything about going into Russia beforehand. I knew, like those Marvel movies where the Russian people are always the bad guys, and you have, these thick Russian accents, and every Russian person you see is like, rah. Okay, yeah. So I didn't know anything. So I have a couple trivia questions for y'all. Okay? So, first, what is the biggest city in Russia? Okay, I think you were the first one to say Moscow. So I have an important question for you. You have to choose one. They're both chocolate. Warning. Do you want Pětici Maleko or Alyonka? You have to be able to pronounce it right to get it. Which one, first or second? Okay. I'll tell you what it is after you eat it. Okay, I promise it's not poisonous. I kind of like it. I don't know. Russian candy's a little different, but it's candy. Okay, so if you were to drive from one side of Russia straight across the other side of Russia, how long do you think it would take? How many hours? 38. Okay, everyone quiet. Has any of you heard anyone say something over 100 yet? It's 120, so you are close. Which one would you like, Alyonka or Pětici Maleko? Affectionately called baby face, because it looks like a baby face. So it actually takes 120 hours, which is 5 days nonstop driving. Whereas, for comparison, if you were to drive from San Francisco to Plant City, it takes less than 2 days. So think about how huge that country is, right? It's just a massive place. So another question about its size, how many countries do you think border Russia? So how many other countries share a border with Russia? 36. I heard of 14. Who said 14? There you go. Number 1 or number 2? Okay. I have pretty good aim. I'm not going to hit you on the face, hopefully. Okay, I have 2 more questions for you. So, okay, another thing I knew about Russia going in is that it's cold, right? We all picture cold. I also had the conception that everyone there was either a professional hockey player or a professional ice skater. Not true, unfortunately. So, out of places where people actually live, so places where normal day-to-day life, what is the coldest temperature ever recorded in Russia? I'm actually going here. If someone else said, I'm sorry. It is negative 90 degrees. And she had a 93 here. Okay. So can you imagine that? People actually live in that. Negative 90 degrees. It's awful. So I did go, I'll show you a picture in a minute. I went on vacation to a very, very cold place, like further north than you can possibly imagine. And I was wearing like 20 layers of clothing, and I was still cold. So it is cold. I have lots of fun pictures of me in fur coats. So one more question. What is the primary religion in Russia? Okay, none of y'all get it. It's fine. It's Orthodoxy. So Russian Orthodoxy. So it's kind of weird to understand. Like, you've probably heard of like Greek Orthodox more than Russian Orthodox. They're kind of similar. But I basically compare it to Catholicism in the fact that they're Christian, but they don't really teach the gospel, at least in their core. Catholicism and Orthodoxy in America, a little bit different. But overseas, at their root, they don't really teach the gospel. So when I went to Russia, I didn't know anything about it. I met a family in Jacksonville. Oh, real quick, for those of you who have the candy, if you have the square ones, the round one, the straight ones, I don't really know what's in it because that would be a lot of effort for me to read that. Something crunchy in the inside, I don't know. So if you're allergic to nuts, come get the other one. But, because there might be nuts in there. The square ones is actually, that translates to pigeon milk. So, is it actually milk from a pigeon? I don't know. Good luck. That is a direct translation. It might be closer to bird milk, but the connotation is pigeon milk. So, it's real special. Okay, so when I was first trying to decide if I wanted to go overseas, I met this family from America who was living in Russia, and they invited me to come. And at first I thought, why would I want to go to Russia? No, I'm not doing that. But over time, after about 6 months, God kind of showed me, yeah, you're supposed to go to Russia. And so I did. And so as far as it not being what I expected, there were some things that were exactly what I expected. For example, there was lots of snow. So lots of snow-capped mountains everywhere you went. Yeah, so it depends on where you are, whether it's season round. There is a bit of a summer, but there are parts of the country where it looks like this 100% of the year. And then there are parts of the country where there's a beach. So we'll get to that in a minute. There's ice skating. So I lived in Moscow for my second year that I was there. So a huge city. And they actually turn the parks, all of the sidewalks become ice skating rinks every winter. Right? That is the coolest thing ever. So lots of time ice skating. The picture Siberian Huskies, first of all. Like, playing with a Siberian Husky in Siberia, you can't beat it. Like, it's just the coolest thing ever. But then the picture on your left is my walk to my apartment every day in winter. So there's a lot of snow. And that's like actually when there isn't much snow. Yeah? I don't know. They said something in Russian, and I didn't know the dog breeds. So probably called husky. I don't know. Probably like husky or something. Okay. There's also. Oh, I didn't put the picture in. Okay. Well, so this is what I was saying. There's actually beaches too. So actually no. So where the city I lived in for my first year was actually pretty hot in the summer. Probably would get up to a high of 80, so not as high as Florida, but it got pretty warm. And so these beaches were actually warm, but in winter, it still snows there. So it does get cold as well. But there's some cool things there too, like the Northern Lights, right? Super awesome. And so this would be part of the trip where everything was frozen and I was wearing 20 layers and dying, but worth it. Okay, and this is the picture I was looking for. The other kind of stereotype that I didn't expect but totally fits, giant lakes of ice shards. So if y'all look, those are like massive pieces of ice all over the lake. And so you just get out and you walk. Like we were like, it's kind of like you were swimming in the ocean. Like you go far out. You just walk across the ice all the way out and hope you don't fall in and die. So I wasn't really surprised about a lot of that stuff, but there were a lot of things I was surprised about. I was surprised at how nice the people were. You know, you see those movies and you assume that Russian people are kind of mean and angry, but they're actually super nice. I was surprised how good some of the food was. There are some things that were not so good. They put dill on everything, for starters. It's a little weird. Yeah, it's just not good. Not good. But some of the food is great. I was surprised that there actually was a summer. I was surprised at how hard some of the names of people were to pronounce. The first time I met a girl named Kasusha. I can't say it right still. It's like weird letters merged together to do that. And I don't know. There's a lot of weird names. And they all expect you to remember their names. It's not like if I were to walk up to you like, I'm Lauren. You're like, oh, I've met people named Lauren before. I can remember that. No, it's like, can you say it 12 more times and slowly, please? So hard to remember people's names. But I was also surprised how pretty some of the buildings were. So here are a couple of buildings. These are both Orthodox churches. And so the buildings are gorgeous. But with that, as you're looking at these pretty buildings, you realize how diverse the religion is there. And also makes you realize how lost people are in the country. So you've got these churches that are mostly museums. They're really pretty. Spoiler alert, if you come to the missions conference, or if you came to Taste of Russia when I did that at church, the picture on your left is actually, there's like a cutout that looks just like it in the Commons right now. So you should go over and see it. So these are Orthodox churches, mostly museums. People don't really go. But then there's also a lot of Islam there. So this is a Muslim mosque, and it's even bigger than it looks. And there are just tons of Muslim people all throughout the country. Some have come up from other countries in Central Asia and moved in, and different parts of the country have different religions too. And so the further east you go in Russia, the more you see Buddhism. So just lots of statues and those little, I'm sure you've seen in movies like the red poles, I should probably know a name for it, but like the red poles people walk by and spin. So if you've seen Doctor Strange, you've seen those. And so there's also a lot of atheism. So a lot of people kind of reacting to the fact that no one goes to church anymore and saying, if the church were real, people would still be going. So if Christianity were real, this would be a thing. So as you're meeting people, it's really important to recognize how diverse Russia is, because you can be talking to someone and the things you'll share with them about God kind of change a little bit based on whether they grew up in a Christian home or a Buddhist home or a Muslim home. And regardless, though, over 99% of Russia does not have a relationship with Jesus. And so there's just huge lostness all around you. And so everything I did was for the purpose of introducing people to Jesus, right? So I tried, technically it was illegal there to do, like, to share the gospel. You can't do that unless you're in a registered church building. Probably don't want foreigners doing it at all. So had to be a little bit careful of who I was sharing with, where I was sharing. But the main way I did that was I met people by doing English clubs. I'm going to skip over to that picture first. So this is a picture from our English club. Everyone there wants to learn English because they want to improve their careers. Maybe move, their big thing is they want to move to Europe. Like my age group really wants to move over to Europe. And so people are just hungry to come to those English clubs. And it gives you a chance to sit and talk to them, build relationships, and then later in the week say, hey, want to go grab coffee? And then when you grab coffee, tell me about your life. Let me tell you about Jesus, right? So just kind of naturally having those conversations like you would with your friends at school or in sports. And we also did a lot of inviting people over to our apartment. So that's the apartment I lived in, and we had a huge birthday party for 3 girls all at once and just invited all of their friends, all of our friends. There were a lot more people there than it looks like in that picture. But just constantly, just keeping our doors open so people could come in. And then I mentioned to y'all earlier, board games, okay? I played tons of board games. And I never thought that board games would be something God would use in the life of a missionary, but it absolutely was. So I want to tell y'all a story of a few people in this picture. No one in this picture is a Christian, except me. I'm there. So the girl right next to me with the black curly hair, her name is Rose, and she's actually from the Caribbean. So there are a lot of international students living in Moscow. And she grew up in a Christian family, but she had never been around people who actually lived their faith and who actually had a personal relationship with Jesus. And so it was really neat to see. She started coming to church with me from time to time and built a lot of relationships with my friends so that when I left, she still has the influence of real believers in her life and is just constantly growing and learning more of what it means to be a Christian. And then in front of her in the like white and blue, whatever type of clothing you call that now, long sweaterish thing, her name is Tonya, not Tanya, Tonya. And she loves drama and theater and musicals, and she was actually in the musical Jesus Christ Superstar and invited me to come and watch it with her. And afterwards, just because I decided to go to her play, we were able to sit and talk about what the Bible actually says about Jesus. And so again, just a really natural conversation that came from that. If you look in the back row, there's a guy who looks shorter because he's right behind a girl who looks bald. Because a lot of Russian men look bald. His name is Dima. He was in charge of our group, and I knew him for almost a full year before I left. And when I was leaving Russia, my last night I saw him, he said, "How seriously do you take this whole God thing? Because I've known you for a long time now, and you seem like a pretty normal person." Right? So he had no concept that someone who was a Christian could actually be normal. And, that's just such a testament. He had never met a Christian before who actually believes in Jesus and has a relationship with him. And so that was really cool. And then the guy right next to him with thick black hair to his left is named Feris, and he is from Azerbaijan. And he grew up Muslim, but is now an atheist. And, for missionaries, it's not... Some of y'all are probably scared to share your faith, right? There's a lot of reasons we don't want to. We don't want to lose a friendship. We don't want to seem weird. We just don't know what to say. So the same is true for missionaries, right? Like, we all have that. There are all times where we're hesitant to speak when we should. With him, he made it so easy because he asked all the questions, right? I never had to push it. He would ask me, "So do all Christians really believe that Jesus rose from the dead?" And we'd launch into this long conversation. Another night, he said, "So how do you actually add people to your church?" I'm like, just meeting people, day-to-day life. Like, "So what you're doing now?" Uh-huh. Yep, that's what it is. And then another time he said, "So my family's Muslim, but you believe the only way to heaven is Jesus. So would you tell my family they're going to hell?" Well, yeah. And, very graciously trying to answer that, but he was just so eager to ask questions. And these people had just never been around a Christian before. And it's like that all over the world, just people who desperately need to be in the presence of a Christian to even have an idea of what this is all about, of what our faith is all about. So there's a lot of cool things about Russia, but I want to tell you a little bit about why I went, right? So we all know the stereotypical, to tell people about Jesus. Yes, obviously, that is the goal of missions. But does anyone know what the Great Commission is? Does anyone know where in the Bible it is? It is in the New Testament. It's in Matthew 28, verse 19 through 20. Can someone pull that up on their phone and read it for me? You have permission to use your cell phones while I talk. I see people phoning and Bibling. Matthew 28, verses 19 through 20. It's a race. Who is the fastest? Okay, Abby's got it.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age.
All right, so that is a command from God for us to go to the nations, to the people around us and to the nations, to proclaim the gospel. So there it is in the Bible. Jesus tells us to. So number one reason why I went. But I think just because that verse is there, that doesn't necessarily mean we're all supposed to, like, in this time go jump on your donkey and ride to another country, but now to jump on a plane and go somewhere else. That's not necessarily what God is saying. But then also, can someone else, or maybe the same person if she's fast, find Revelation 7, verses 9 through 10? Okay.
After this, I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, for every nation, tribe,
Thank you. So I know sometimes when we read a Bible verse, we be like, oh, that was so long, I didn't hear anything that it said. So to recap that for you, it's saying that someday when Jesus comes back, there will be a multitude from every nation, tribe, and tongue praising God. Okay, and so God doesn't need us to make that happen. But that first verse we read shows that God wants us to be a part of that we are his plan to make his name known to people. And so, at that point I'm thinking, okay, God wants to use me. God tells me I should go. But then I want to look at the verses. Actually, our theme verse for the missions conference this week. Can someone read Romans 12:1? It's the last one, I promise. Romans 12:1. Yeah. Thank you. So that verse talks about us making our bodies a living sacrifice to God. So for the missions conference, to kind of make that a little bit easier to understand what that means, we're looking at the Message version. So I want to read that for y'all real quick. The beginning of that says, so here's what I want you to do. God helping you, take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. So that's why the theme for our missions conference this year is missions and everyday offering. Because it really is about just your life, wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, living on mission for God, giving yourself as an offering to him. Maybe starting your day by saying, God, what do you want me to do today? Like, I'm here. I'll be obedient. When I was in high school, there was a book that came out. I don't know if any of y'all have read it. The older people have probably all read it. It's called Radical by David Platt. Have any of y'all heard of that? Yeah, so okay, a few of us. So it was a book that came out, and it talked about radical obedience to God, right? And so kind of the idea of it was radical obedience isn't a thing. Like, we're all called to be obedient. And what we view as radical obedience, whether it's going and doing missions, whether it's, I don't know, whatever. That's the one that hit me. So whatever it is that God's calling you to be obedient in, just being obedient is what we're expected to do. That is what God has called us to. And another thing that one of my professors when I was in seminary said, he talked about how when you're thinking about missions, your answer shouldn't be, if God tells me to go, I'll go. But whether, like, if God tells me to stay, I'll stay. And that's something that stuck with me, too, of, like, why am I thinking about this the way I am? That surely God wouldn't call me, because I told you, I prayed that, right? Don't make me go. Why am I not thinking about, like, God, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. But otherwise, why not go? And so that's kind of where my mindset shifted a little bit. So now that I'm back in Plant City, I'm working for the International Mission Board, which is the Southern Baptist sending agency. So the way missionaries who are Southern Baptists go to different nations. And so I'm going to kind of do a Pastor Brian thing now. What now, right? We all have the what nows. We know that's a thing. So what now? So the IMB has 4 main things that we say are really important for everyone to do, regardless of age, right? So the first is to pray. So pray for the missionaries you know. We have people out of the church. A lot of y'all probably know Casey Barnes. She's serving right now with the International Mission Board overseas. And as someone who just came back, I know she needs your prayers. She needs your prayers that she'll stay healthy, that she'll have boldness to share with people, that she will find people who want to talk to her even. So just be praying for her. And also, there's an app called IMB Pray. Super easy. Every Monday, they put new prayer requests from all over the world. So you might have something from Iraq one day, and the next day you'll have something from Germany. And so it's just completely different people and different needs. And so we can all be praying. Second, give, right? You've probably heard a lot of stuff about the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. We do it every year. If you haven't heard about it, pay attention in church. And also, at the missions conference this week, we're going to be funding a big project for Bible translation. So to get the Bible into a language that people can actually understand and read it. And so we are doing I'm going to say this wrong, Faith, the Karachai people. I always thought it was Karachi, and I'm learning that it's not Karachi, it's Karachai. And so that's a really cool opportunity for us just to be able to give even $5. You can go without one Starbucks coffee, guys. It's possible. You can go without one Crazy Cup coffee. Sorry, let me pick the right one. So just give the little bit that you have towards missions. And then the third thing is to go, obviously. It's like I said, I started by going to Plant City in Orlando. And you know, if the only place God ever tells you to go is Plant City, that's awesome. This is where he has for you. And I do think, though, that there's some of you that God's probably saying, hey, you, you're one of those people I want to go. And so I will say, girls, it's really important that you go. Guys, it's really, really important that you go because there are so many more females serving overseas than men. And there was one point while I was in Russia where I had 10 men coming to my English club. I can't go meet with them in a coffee shop. We had one guy for having coffee with about 20 people at one point. Okay? And that's just a very small sample of why guys are needed. So, guys, you're included in this. Go overseas. Don't let all the girls do it. Cool. Okay. And then, so along with go, I want to show y'all a super short video. Then we'll be almost done. Is the volume up for this? Before I hit play, I'm hitting play. It'll come in at some point. There's no volume. Starting over in a minute. Just talk really quietly in the meantime. There we go.
Let's go.
So, I don't know, I just like that video because it shows so many different cultures that people are serving in, that students are serving in. And so why is it playing the video again? Okay, the other one was send, to help other people to go. I got that. So I want to end by encouraging y'all to come to the missions conference. Ta-da! Okay, so this QR code on here, if you're interested in coming, is so much easier than the massive QR code that is like on the church website. So there is no access to this other than right now. You have to fill out way less than if you do it the other way. And like Greg said, it's free, $50 towards a mission trip. So whether you're sitting here and you're thinking, yeah, it'd be cool to go for a week sometime, or whether you think like, if there's someone in here who's like, yeah, I'm ready to go for my lifetime, then awesome, come on. But for most of us, we're probably thinking, okay, yeah, I'd like to go for a week somewhere, or hey, I just want to learn how I can start praying for people in different countries. Whatever it is, wherever you are on that, this is a great opportunity for you. Like Greg said, we're going to have tons of missionaries here from all different places all over the world. We're going to have awesome food from all places all over the world. And I know some of y'all even know some of the missionaries. I was talking to a couple of y'all about Matt Boyd is going to be here. He's a church planner in Portland. And so just when you go onto that link, you can sign up. Friday night session will be focused on church planting in America and just our different partners we have. I know a lot of y'all knew Daniel Helms, who just headed out to Palatka. Hopefully he's going to be here Friday night. I think he's going to be here. Their church is launching on Sunday, so it's a super busy weekend for him too. But that'll be a cool opportunity. And then on Saturday, so if y'all are signing up, the luncheon, there's a women's lunch, which includes all the females in here, even though you're not over 18. You're counting as a woman for the day. But it's going to be super cool. We're going to have a panel of missionaries who are just going to be talking about what it's like being on the field and how you can pray for them and stuff. And then there's also using your career on mission. So, guys, I don't know if you're really thinking about your career yet, but go check it out. And girls, if you want to go to that one too, you can, but ours is going to be cooler. And then, so the big thing, though, is that afternoon, like Greg mentioned, I think it starts at 3:30, be here at 3 to 5-ish. We're going to have student sessions in here, so you'll have a couple different missionaries, talking specifically to y'all. And then we're also going to have a really cool game I'm excited about because I planned it, so it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be like a cross-cultural immersion. So you'll see what it's like to step into a new culture. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then that night, the international dinner is where the best food's going to be. So come to those. Friday night, come all day Saturday. Join us. It'll be awesome. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Lauren, for being with us. Lauren went overseas and did the thing that everybody is like scared to death to do and had an amazing experience with it, right? And she hinted at this at the end because there's a session in the missions conference about it, but it is a good thing if God calls you to go and focus 100% of your time on missions, but you don't have to become a missionary to be a missionary. For instance, one of my former students who's named Ethan Robb, who's going to NC State University, who sort of went to Liberty on a swimming scholarship and hated it, so he transferred schools. Not hated Liberty, hated swimming for scholarship. Because some of you are like, Liberty's the best. I'm not insulting them. It's okay. Ethan Robb is now doing an internship with Ernst & Young, which is an accounting firm. And he's doing that so that he can, when he gets his job with them, he gets to pick any country in the world that he wants to work for them. And he's doing that so that he can be a missionary in a part of the world that you can't go be a missionary. And he's going to make a lot of money doing it as an accountant. So for some of you who are like, I don't want to be poor, I want to have a life, you can do all of those things and actually have an easier time being a missionary because it gives you access to a country that just being a missionary doesn't. So there are just lots of different ways, and that's what this coming weekend is going to help you explore. So it's a really awesome thing. I ended up, maybe some of you will think this is good or bad, but I ended up doing ministry because I started out in summer missions. I was in New York City and Alaska and France, and it was those summer mission trips that started my path to warping the minds of teenagers in multiple states. So we are going to pray, and then we're going to let you guys go, and I pray that you have a great rest of the week. So, Jesus, we do thank you for the fact that you involve us in your work. Thank you for the way we get to see your hands and feet spread out across so many cultures in the world. Thank you for the work you did in and through Lauren. Thank you for the opportunities you're going to give us this weekend. I pray for the people in this room as we go out that you would help us to speak up in our daily mission field. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Bye, friends. We love you.